Hello and welcome back to the Brit Iron podcast. Today we are running through the 30th team in our team ranking and give them a little preview as well. Today, as always, joined by Matt and Sam. Very dependable guys, very knowledgeable, so I'm excited to see their takes on this team.
It's going to be a spicy one.
Whoa, always is. Just before we start though, just like to shout out our YouTube channel. If you go ahead and go comment, like, subscribe. And also check out our Instagram. Got a lot of posts up on there, which would be definitely of interest to you guys. So right, let's kick off into this team. And it is the Chargers, and I know this is going to be a big talking point because myself and Sam had these guys at 3 and 13, and Matt, you had them a bit better than that, didn't you?
I did. I got them at 7
Explain
and
yourself.
9. So I think this is a team where they could come out with 10 wins. They could come out with 4 or 5. I'll run through very vaguely. So the teams I've got them picking up a win against, the 7 wins I've got them down for, is week 4 at Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be early days. There's a lot of things merging into place. As a Bucks fan, pain me a little bit, but I think it's going to take us a little bit to click. So I've got them getting a win there. Then the next win I've got them week 7 Jacksonville. Week 8 Jacksonville. Week 9 against the Raiders. And then straight after that, they've got the bye. And then off the back of that, taking a win against Denver, Buffalo, New England, and Atlanta. So going on a run around the bye week. So that's the 7 I've got them put in for. I have got them losing to Vegas and Denver off the back of that. So coin flipping with those two, going 50-50. But I think that's the 7 wins I've got them in for. And I think it's very doable for this team.
I think me and James were actually discussing this when we originally put in. I was planning this whole prep, doing the prep for these episodes that we're doing and counting down. I obviously put together a spreadsheet which we put the numbers in and it spits out our consensus rankings. And I remember when Matt put his in, I looked at the at where the Chargers were coming out because I was really low on the Chargers. I thought, bloody hell, our consensus win things way higher than I was expecting. And then me and James got chatting about it, and I very quickly realised that I'm not low on the Chargers. I think it's that they're in a hard division, and I'm very high on the other teams in their division, and they've got a horrible schedule. Like, of all the teams probably in the bottom 10 of our power rankings, I think the Chargers are one of those teams who could very easily, they've got the weapons to go 10-6 and sneak into the playoffs. Like, it wouldn't be out of the question. But they've also got questions at enough positions that they could go 3 and 13. The issue with them I have is I don't like their quarterback room this season. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is a guy, when you look at the team they have, who can win them games in the right way. He's very, very safe. He's not going to turn the ball over, which is a massive plus, but he's also not going to push the ball downfield. Now, when you look at where he's had his most success in his career when he was in Buffalo, that's a team that their identity was playing decent defense and running the ball. He was very rarely asked to throw 300 yards a game and really shove the ball downfield, and I don't think that's really something he does well. When you flip that to Justin Herbert, I think, has got all the ability in the world to push the ball downfield. His issue is going to be kind of the opposite to Tyrod Taylor. I can see him struggling as a rookie, throwing a lot of picks. They've got all the weapons to do all that, to go and put a run on. I just don't think they've got the quarterbacks to play the way in which they need to win these games. Because, like I said, they've got a really hard schedule. They're going to be in negative game scripts a lot of the time, and they're going to have to throw to win. I don't think Tyrod Taylor can do it. I think Herbert can come in and he can compete and keep them in games. But I think because he's a rookie, you'll see turnover problems and probably not quite enough to win those one-score differential games.
I think for me, the main area I started this off and sort of the way I'm viewing the Chargers for this year. Now, I know this might not be agreeable to everyone, or a bit of a controversial, but I prefer Tyrod Taylor under centre there than Phillip Rivers towards this point of his career. Last year, I did not like Rivers. He threw games away. I think what they don't need a guy. I disagree with you saying they need a guy to throw 300 yards a game and drive him down the field. I think they've got the defense there. And if it all stays healthy, that defense can be a monster. And I reckon that around that, you've got Eckler, and then you've also got Justin Jackson, who's shown in the little pockets he's come in, he can be a serviceable back. I think they can run the ball, and they just need the quarterback not to turn the ball over.
But I'm not sure
in my opinion.
I'm not sure that they've got the running back who is the workhorse on the ground. Like, when I think of Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson, they excel in the passing game. And I'm not by any stretch saying that Austin Eckler can't run the ball. But in order to... The way that I would see if a team is building its identity around a defense and a strong run game, I want a big bruising back who can take... who can run between the tackles and on first and second down can take you 3-4 yards and do the dirty work. I don't want a flash, and I think Austin Eckler maybe can do that, but he's not proven to have done that on a season-long scale. I'd be very interested to see how he holds up going between the tackles on 300-plus touches, because I'm not sure we've seen that yet from him.
The thing for me is with that, it is an unproven point for him, and it's something he's going to obviously have to take over more, less of the catching up. But he looked good for me last year. And just the key thing for me is just when you look at Rivers' stats, in terms of them generally in a passing game, last year, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. It's going to put your defense on the back foot. You saw it with the Bucks, Jameis going 30 for 30. Yeah. You can't be a successful team doing that. So I think all they need Tyrod Taylor to do is to not have almost a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And as I said, to go 7-9 doing that, I think for this roster that would be
it's just the schedule though. The schedule just doesn't favour them. I think that's definitely my issue. I know Sam alluded to it there. I mean, in their division you got the Broncos, who I know I'm high on, and Sam is high on as well. The Raiders, who I'm very high on, and the Chiefs, who I think everyone's high on. I just can't see them breaking out that division with more than 3 or 4 wins, honestly, regardless of that roster.
The Chargers struggled at O-line last year as well, which didn't help Rivers at all. I think PFF had their O-line ranked as the worst O-line in football, which, when you've got an aging quarterback who was never really he was always a pocket guy, if there's no pocket, then he's having to try and force the ball out, which is going to lead to picks. I think that this year, for Phillip Rivers especially, I mean, we'll talk to it when we get to our Colts episode, but I think Phillip Rivers is a comeback player of the year kind of guy who, obviously he probably won't qualify for that, but he is that kind of guy who will bounce back and have a good year behind a much better offensive line. I think Tyrod Taylor will have better numbers, and on the face of it, he will probably look like an upgrade because Tyrod Taylor can move around a bit more in the pocket. But I think one of the win conditions for this Chargers team is, can that O-line hold up? Because they're going to be, whoever's behind that, if the O-line's like last year, they're going to be running for their lives, and anyone behind there is either going to have a very low completion percentage or a hell of a lot of picks, because they're going to have to throw it up and hope.
I think that's where, within this system specifically, Tyrod Taylor have a bit of a better chance than Rivers, a bit more mobile. So if out of the two, purely in the system, I would much rather have Tyrod Taylor. But I think the one thing, coming off of what you were saying about the offensive line, is I don't know if I would want to see Justin Herbert at all early on. I think he's a guy just sit him. If you need to bring him in later in the year, do so. If they are looking like they're going 3-13, bring him in, see what he got. But I think if they're doing it right, and if Tyrod Taylor's looking serviceable, I would just leave him and just sit him. I think I prefer it so much when teams, unless they have to start their rookie, let your quarterback sit for a year. And it seems normally they tend to play out better for the quarterbacks that are just allowed to sit and develop in the league.
It will just be interesting to see if Tyrod Taylor's the kind of guy who can develop someone like Justin Herbert. They're two quite different play styles. You've got one guy who's a bit more roll out the pocket, and Herbert, to me, is a bit more of a conventional inside the pocket pro style quarterback. And not to say doesn't have legs and can't get outside the pocket, but I might have liked to see him go somewhere where he can sit behind someone who plays a bit more his style of football.
Yeah, you're definitely not looking for Tyrod Taylor to, in some regards, sort of bring up Justin Herbert. But the interesting thing is, where do you guys now on your 3-13? If Kaepernick, there's a rumour floating, he's in the rumour mill, and this is one of the teams that it looks like he could be at. Do you change from 3-13.
Nope.
No,
He hasn't played a down of football in 4 years,
Yeah.
4 and a bit
Yeah,
years.
he's-
And when he was playing at San Francisco, he was very meh. There was nothing. He's shown flashes in his career of being very, very good, and I think that he would be a good slot into that offense because, like I said, the O-line, he's going to be running for his life,
Yeah.
and he's got the wheels for it. But I don't think you can expect someone to come after 4 years of football and take a team that you think is going to be 3-13 and suddenly they're a 9-17.
Yeah, and
I'm not talking to that high. I was saying, do you maybe give him 5? Do you give him a little bit more?
I think ultimately, like Sam said, he's going to be rusty. Hasn't played in 4 years, so is he the same ability he was back then? Who knows? 4 years is a long time. He's had distractions as well in between. Not his fault, obviously, but it does play into it. And also that schedule doesn't change with him coming in. He's still got to play the same teams, the same very rough schedule, I'd say. So maybe an extra win here and there, but no, I wouldn't put money on it.
This will definitely be an interesting one to track as it goes on, how they turn out.
Yeah,
Very different views.
I would like it to be noted, though, that although I don't think Cap coming in would change their season prospects, I think this is a team that I would absolutely love to see Cap get in as a clipboard holder, purely because, personally, I love Cap. I think, as a person, I think what he did a couple years ago with taking a knee was really courageous. It shows the kind of guy he is. He will stand up and he will take a stand when he believes in something, and that's the kind of thing that I think for a young quarterback like Herbert would be amazing to have Cap in the locker room and just watch and see how how players react to him, because having that kind of strong leadership presence who stands up for what they believe in, I think for a quarterback is really, really important. It shows that there's more to Cap than just the football side of things. He is a guy who in the locker room will, like I said, stand up for what he believes in, and he's not going to take nonsense from anyone, which I really, really rate, and I think that Cap could be a really positive influence in that locker room, and I think it's really progressive for the league going forward.
Yeah.
I know that we don't want to necessarily take the pod and make it a political thing, or like we want to be an escape for people. We talk about sport, but it's something we can't avoid, and I think it is a really good progressive thing for the league, and I think he will get a job somewhere, and I'd love to see him at the Chargers.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think you've framed that very well there.
Yeah. I'll be intrigued to see if he does get it, and I'm really hoping
I think
he
this
does
would
get
be
a
a
job.
good spot for him out of the ones that are there. I think, especially if even just you kind of think, give as well, obviously there's already Justin Herbert there, but him and Tyrod, relatively similar play styles, done similar things. It'd be interesting putting those two competing just to see how that plays out, I think. And especially with Hard Knocks being around Chargers and the Rams.
Yeah, that would be...
It just seems lined up. It just seems like the sort of the headlines are aligning.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The number of viewers would definitely go up. Moving things on to the fantasy side of things, I've got a question for you boys here. Quite a basic question, but who is like the number one, like sort of fantasy draft pick out of this Chargers team? Which one of these would you be looking at first?
Eckler, definitely.
Yeah,
I think I would be taking him. I think obviously your top two names you're looking at is Keenan Allen and Eckler.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer running backs, and I think it'll be good to see what Eckler can do this year. Firstly, obviously, just him being fully the guy there. There's no distractions right now. We've got Melvin Gordon sort of doing a bit here, coming in, coming out. This is his running back room. It's his job to lose. So I think I'm really excited to see what he can do.
It really depends, I think, on how your draft and the way when you're playing fantasy drafting, how your early draft goes. So the way that I draft, I'm taking 2 or 3 running backs early. No matter where I'm drafting, really, I want running backs. In which case, I'm looking at Chargers players that I'm going to be getting from the 4th round onwards. I think Keenan Allen will drop to the 4th round because he had a bit of a dodgy year. But as someone who's got Keenan Allen in our Dynasty League, I was burned a lot by Keenan Allen last year. When you look at his end-of-year stats, he seems to come out every year and it's, Keenan Allen was a high-end wide receiver 2, or he was a wide receiver 1. but he's actually getting a lot of that off the back of a couple of massive games. He'll have a game where he goes for 160 and a score, and it's like, oh, brilliant, I've got Keenan Allen. But then he puts up 3 or 4 weeks on the trot where he's an utter dud, and he's going a couple of receptions for less than 50 yards. So I'm actually looking off this team. I'm looking at Mike Williams as the touchdown upside guy. I'd rather have the guy who I'm bringing in as a streamable guy who could go for an insane game with 3 touchdowns than a hit and miss wide receiver one who, on the most part, puts up a dud. So I would be rather draft Mike Williams a little bit later, maybe the 7th, 8th round, than taking Keenan Allen where his ADP is at the moment, which is around the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Mike Williams, he's sort of almost done it. He seems to be that player the last couple of years that it's like, is he gonna take the step? So especially it's another thing. We'll see how it goes with Tyrod Taylor coming in, but then potentially, who knows, Cap, Herbert, a big QB change, shifting the chemistry in that team, shifting the offense. Be interesting to see if finally he sort of starts to take over. But obviously the one thing that does worry for either receiver is Eckler does demand a fair amount of receiving targets.
Yeah.
And I think especially what you're saying about the dodgy offensive line, that plays into it. If the pocket's collapsing, just to dump off, get it to Eckler, see what he can break and do on the ground, because that's what he's shown he can do. Play to the strength. If it's a strength that helps to solve another weakness, I could see a lot of value in Eckler. I think. I definitely think he'll be a running back 1 again. I don't know. I wouldn't say as high as he's not going to break into sort of the top 5, top 6, but I think a top 8 guy.
Yeah.
Will be within your top 8 running backs this year, I'd imagine. In the right point.
Bold.
If you're in a half PPR or PPR.
No, I can certainly see him being up there as well. That's definitely a line I'd agree with. One position we haven't really mentioned is the tight end position.
Just about to bring that up.
Hunter Henry. Where do you value him? Because obviously he's not the top 2. And is he that next little bit below them, or is he maybe tier 3, should we say?
I don't think so. I think I like Hunter Henry. I think he's the talent to be in that top 5 tight end thing. My wariness of Hunter Henry coming into this season is we don't know what this offense is going to be like. There's questions. I mean, there are 3 quarterbacks at the moment who, with Cap in the conversation, there are 3 quarterbacks who could all theoretically be starting week 1. And we don't know who's going to be starting where, for how long. We don't know what the O-line's going to be like, and they've got a horrible schedule.
Yeah. Which
means that Hunter Henry, if the game scripts could be there because they're back and they're having to throw the ball, but I'm not sure that I've got the faith in that O-line or quarterback rooms that make me go, yes, I want to play him. I think he's the kind of guy who, in the right matchup against the right team, is very streamable, but he's not a guy that I'm going out and thinking I'm going to draft him and he's going to be my guy for the season.
No, I'd put him in that sort of, you've got a core of guys who are serviceable tight ends, so once you've sort of gone through Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, Ertz, you've got those big 4 out the way.
Ingram.
Injury dependent, but once the big 4 is out the way, you've then just got a sort of field of guys who are all going to be tight end 1s. They're going to be within the top 12, and it's very week dependent. You never know exactly what you're going to get, but if you haven't prioritized tight end in your draft and gone within the first sort of 5 rounds on getting one of these big 4 guys, then this is where it starts to fall. And you're taking a bit of a swing on any of them. Obviously, Ingram does have the upside if he stays healthy to break into that. But then you've got other guys for this year. You've got Kosicki, you've got Hayden Hurst. See if Austin Hooper can get it going at the Browns. There's a lot of names around similar to Hunter Henry where it's just who's your guy. Who do you prefer? Which situations you prefer? But I think Hunter Henry should be tight end 1 because obviously tight end it's a difficult position in the league, in fantasy especially.
The one thing I would be wary about with Hunter Henry is over the last year or so, there's been a lot of hype around him.
Yeah, don't get caught up.
And because of the hype, you could see him going early in drafts. If Kelsey and Zach Ertz and Kittle roll off the board quick and people start to panic, which happens in drafts, and people go, I need a tight end, and they take Hunter Henry in the 5th, don't be that guy who panics and takes Hunter Henry too early, because you will not get payoff for a 5th round pick from him. He's the kind of guy that I'd say take him late and you'll get the value for him, but don't take him in the top 6 or 7 rounds, just because you can get much better value there.
Yeah, if you're not getting one of those, the big 4, I think you leave it until a fair bit later on. And obviously, if people are taking those big 4 tight ends, or if someone does go early and take sort of Evan Ingram or someone in those early rounds as well, off the back of the big 4 being taken, there's going to be such value at running back or receiver.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have slipped at that point, which you can then just sit there, pick up. Happy days.
Yeah, I think for me, ultimately, I think, like Sam said earlier, I'm just going to stream him. If anything, I don't think I'm going to draft him. Pick him up on the waiver wire as and when I need him. But I believe that is all we've got time for today. So please do be sure to check out our YouTube channel, as we mentioned earlier. Go like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Instagram at the Brit Iron, and also check out our follower league as well, which we're setting up, and is quite an exciting prospect to get you guys involved with the podcast. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.